We got our hands full this week, and we got to be hitting on all three cylinders against Philadelphia. Because if we're not, it won't be enough. So it's going to be a big challenge, but we're excited. We're excited. We'll be looking forward to this when we hit the ground on Wednesday.
Ted, I definitely want to get your sense. I was on a call earlier today with Dave Burkett, and I asked him the question, which call was worse? Was it the crazy, picking up a flag against Brandon Pettigrew?
We actually made Jared sprint, so I would do sprint training with him once a week. I would actually do it with him. I'd run with him. So we topped off, and we would hit at least 90% of his max velocity once a week. My reason for this, from a training perspective and from really pre-acclimation for the tissue, more so from a hamstring, hip flexor, quadricep, when you want to avoid some of those soft tissue injuries for a quarterback who's not hypermobile and they don't run a lot.
Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news. We appreciate you guys joining us live, coming to you here on a Wednesday night. We have a great panel with us today. We're going to be talking about Week 11, Lions football. I mean, we know what happened in Week 11. Lions traveled to Philadelphia, ended up losing a Sunday night primetime game to the Eagles. We're going to dive heavy into that matchup. We have Mark Schmidt, current NFLPA Vice President for the Buffalo chapter, also a part of the executive committee for the national branch as well. Mark, good to have you, my man. How you doing today?
Thank you, Johnny. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
We also got Jitter Fields on with us here today, former NFL pro football player. I appreciate you, buddy. How you doing?
Jitter, you with us?
Jitter, we'll
Jitter's
circle back
frozen.
to you, my man. No worries.
Yeah.
My boy Donnie Cleary on with us, Lions super fan, West Virginia super fan. How you doing, buddy?
No, I'm good, bud.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Well, let's not delay. Let's dive right into this matchup. You know, we're coming out of this mega football game. We all look forward to it. Spent all week talking about the hype behind Lions and Eagles. And unfortunately, Lions lose football game 16-9. And there's a ton to dive into. Let's start with what I think is the biggest story come out of this game. And I think it's the Lions' inefficiency on both third downs and fourth downs. They were 3 for 13 on third downs and an 0 for 5 on fourth downs. Lions coming into this game were operating on a fourth down clip at 72%. That's a success rate. That's crazy. And they follow up in this game with 0 for 5. So there's clearly a disconnect here. Mark, let me start with you. Let's start right there. 3 for 13, 0 for 5. Do we have a concern with the coaching? Do we have a concern with the personnel? How do you see this?
I see it more as a concern with the coaching, Johnny. I don't. They've had some success with it, yeah. But like we were talking about it before we went on the program today. You know, a lot of those fourth down decisions, and Donnie, you listen to this too. A lot of those fourth down decisions are situational. It's how the game is going. It's how things are, progressing. You're very unsuccessful on third down in that game, and now you're going for it every single fourth down. Now, in a game like that ends up as a 7 or 8 point defeat, field goals. I know what they say so many times in the NFL about field goals. Well, we don't want, you got to score touchdowns on the road to win. You got to score touchdown, but in this situation, 0 for 5. There, it becomes the coach's decisions, and I will say this, and hindsight is 2020, I know, but we needed him. You need him. Made a big difference in the game. He's going for it every single time now. Now I will say this, and I said it on a show after the championship game against the 49ers 2 years ago. I said it's reckless coaching. It is reckless. It's reckless. If Coach Campbell, who's a terrific coach, was standing right here right now, I would sit there. I would call him reckless. Those decisions, I'm watching the game, and I was with the Lions in the late 80s, and I got 3 texts from 3 former players, all 3 of whom who are saying, what's with no field goals? What are these guys? What is he doing? What is he doing? He's passing up points. And, I do understand about you need touchdowns on the road, but the game is situational, Johnny, like you and I were talking about before we came on. And, the feel in that game, especially with the third down inefficiency, sometimes in a tight ball game, you just want to play the field position game. This coach who has built up a tremendous reputation in Detroit, and he's excellent, and he's a player's coach, and he's good with the media, and he's good with the fans, and he's good with everybody. But his going for it in these situations all the time, okay? And you did mention the 72%, and I'll give him that. But his decisions, and I will say this, and I hope there's a lot of people listening to it out there, his decisions on fourth down against the Philadelphia Eagles cost us the game. I will be as outspoken as to say they didn't play a great football team, but they played it good enough to win. His decisions on fourth down cost them the game, not 90%, 100%. That's what he cost us. And I hope this video gets somewhere to him where he can get inside his brain. Again, great coach. He was a great player, played 11 years, But, it's what have you done for me lately? His decisions cost them everything on Sunday. Absolutely everything. He was the reason they lost the game, plain and simply. You could say the offensive line, but, you're grabbing field goals out of this. And if I'm Jake Bates, who's one of the top 5 kickers in the game, I'm pissed. I'm not going to say I'm pissed, but I'm pissed. Okay. I mean, he's one of the best. He's a weapon. Jake Bates is a weapon. Okay. And he's just sitting there. Because you know what? My coach is not really believing me because we got to go for touchdowns every single goddamn time that we're out there. And that is not football. That is not football in a 16-9 or whatever game. That's not how you play it. Sometimes you play field position. I'm so sorry to be so negative about Coach Campbell because I've been an advocate of him in the past. Except for the 49ers game, which he cost us that game too. So, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm sticking by that. I will stick by that forever because you need the right calls in the right situation. And he failed over and over and over and over on Sunday.
Ooh, wow.
I'm pissed.
Wow, Mark.
I'm pissed.
Hard line.
It's a horrible, horrible way to go down. And I know what people are saying out there who are being maybe the devil's advocate here. They're saying, hey, come on, Mark. They didn't play a good game. It doesn't matter. They're a good football team. You win ugly sometimes, okay? But when you win ugly, you got to be smart. You got to be smart if you're going to win ugly, okay? And they're not smart. They're not smart on fourth down, okay? And they weren't on Sunday. So I'm aggravated at it. I'm disgusted with it. My former teammates are texting me in about it. I don't think that all those guys are wrong. I think the head coach is wrong. I think he's got to clean up his act, or this team will never get to a Super Bowl. Ever, 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 ever. Remember where you heard it, because those decisions and that recklessness does not work in the NFL game.
Wow, reckless cost them the game. Donnie, what do you think, man? Follow that up.
I tell you what, I'm one of the biggest Dan Campbell supporters. Love him, my favorite coach of all time. But you can't. I agree with Mark. I'll stand here and I'll state it. I agree 100% with Mark. You have got to take the field goal in certain areas of the field, certain downs. You got to move the chains. I understand, but the fake punt, that's uncalled for. You give them what, midfield? We can't continue to do this. I love going forward on fourth down when it's right. But this time, I agree with Mark. You just gotta pull back. You gotta look at the situation. A field goal could have won the game for us. At the end of the game, we could have won. Pass interference call end of the game that, in my opinion, wasn't pass interference. But if we'd had a couple field goals, this game would have flip-flopped. What I will say too is the tush push. I have never seen a defense. Now, we got to be proud of our defense. Those guys went out there and busted their asses, and they performed. Tell me a defense that done what they done Sunday. They stopped the tush push, what, 2-3 times? Turned the ball over. Gave us the ball back to get a field goal. So, man, we got a lot to look forward to. All the negativity about Jared Goff. Man, he's been slow from the time he was drafted. Okay, he's not a mobile quarterback. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not going to run for 20 yards. He just isn't. He's not that dude. But what he is, he's accurate and he's good. He's good at reading defenses. He can't help that as soon as he touches the ball, he's got a defender in his face. He's doing the best he can. You have to applaud Philly's defensive line. They had a hell of a scheme, a hell of a game plan, and they came through. But for a Detroit Lions fan to sit there all week and post and cry and whine and make several excuses and point fingers at several different look, we lose as a team just like we win as a team. And what I seen from Sunday's game, I'm excited about the rest of the schedule, guys. Philadelphia's a hell of a team. They're tough. We can compete with Philly. We can compete with Green Bay. We can compete with everybody. And I wouldn't be shocked if we don't just finish the season undefeated. What do we have? 8 games left?
I think
7-1.
Seven.
Is
I
it
think
7 games left?
Yeah.
7 left.
Okay. I can see anywhere a low as a 5-2 and a high maybe 7-1. I hate to say or what would it be? 5-1, 6-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see big things for this team. If we're getting players back too, guys, we're going to get DJ Reed back soon. We already have Rodriguez this week.
Yeah.
These players matter. These players matter. I'm just going to step back and kind of, but some of the stuff I've seen on social media, man, it makes me not want to be part of social media.
What are you seeing on social media, Donnie?
Just people dragging golf down, just talking pure crap about the guy, and it's like, come on, man, ride or die. It ain't totally his fault. He was not perfect. He had some bad throws. I think St. Brown, my boy St. Brown, has a thumb injury. He dropped a few. Nobody's perfect, man. But what I seen out that game was the defense. The defense really got my eye, man. I'm pumped up about this defense.
I got to respond to Mark because I think what you're going with, Donnie, and I'm with you 100%. It's like it's a cultural thing, and so I think Dan Campbell's aggressiveness has been a cultural shift for the Lions. With this grit, this one pride idea that has taken over since 2021. They draft Penny Sewell, so I think that thought process has brought the Lions the success they have now, to a point where, and I was having a conversation with another podcaster, Dan from Lions Talk Live, and we had sort of come to the word stubborn. There's almost like a stubbornness within the coaching staff because of this seismic shift from the losing organization that was to the winning organization that is now. And I think that might be affecting his in-game decisions to the point where there's a stubbornness and unwillingness to adjust in a game that required an adjustment. They had to kick field goals. They had to play the field position game. Weather was a factor. They have the big leg with Jake Bates, like you said, Mark. So there was opportunities for them to adjust. So I agree with Mark to a certain extent, certainly within the game. But I think in an overall sense, I still love the cultural aggressiveness that Dan Campbell and this organization has. Let's also jump off of. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry if you want to respond.
No, Johnny, I'm not here to be irrational about it or just to be, crazy pissed off about it. And I applaud what you're saying there. I do. And what you said at the beginning there, they are 42% on 4th down, but he does not. It's just one dimensional. And you even alluded to that. That they're going to go for it on 4th and 2 at the 50-yard line going in, or even at their own 40-yard line in the game. And what I'm going to coach against the Lions, if I am a defensive coordinator and I got the Lions coming up, we know they're going for it on 4th down, and I am telling my defense, this is what I'm instilling in their head. Okay, and I've been to this level. Okay, I am instilling into my defensive players' heads that he has no respect for us and he is going for it. And when we stop him, we turn the tides of the game completely. And we're going to stop him. Okay, because he has no respect for us on 4th and 2, even at his own 40-yard line. So I am instilling that all week long in my defense. I am building them up. I am building them up for 4th down. And by the time 4th down comes and my players start to believe that he's just being flat out disrespectful toward my defense, okay, then we go in attack mode on 4th down. Now we're raising our level because we know what he's going to do. When you always know what they're going to do and there's no secret, and he doesn't adjust, like you said, Johnny, when he doesn't adjust to game situations, which he doesn't, okay? I mean, I'm going to have my guys ready. I mean, it's so predictable and it's cocky and it's out of line. Again, great coach. I'm not saying that. Okay. But he is one dimensional. And anytime you are one dimensional in this league, okay. And this will give you an example of what happens to one dimensional in this league. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz playing at what, at MVP level, whatever it was 7-8 years ago, whatever it was, playing at an MVP level. Now listen to me real quickly. This is what predictable means. If you flush Carson Wentz out to the left side instead of letting him roll right, he completes his like 78% of his passes. Rolling to his left, he completes like 36% of his passes. All defenses, once they discovered it, they flushed him out. They just stacked the left side of the defense and they flushed him left. What happens? The guy is fighting to be a number 2. Okay. Defenses figure you out when you are predictable. I know that's an odd kind of analogy and it's an individualized analogy. We're talking about teams, but I think you get the point. Once you're figured out in this league, you're doomed. Once you're doing the same thing every single time, and our guys are prepared for it, and they're pissed off about it because it's disrespectful to do it every single time, you're doomed. I'm looking at this from a collective view. And Donnie mentioned it before. He said, well, the schedule is pretty favorable. And I'll agree with that. I can see favorable schedules going down the road. Everybody knows I'm an Ole Miss diehard. Okay. Do you see the way it lines up this week with Ole Miss? I mean, Ole Miss can make it to the championship game because the stars are aligned, right? The format's aligned, right? So, everything is, it is aligned for them to get far, like Donnie said, because of the schedule. It's not that bad. Okay. But what I see in that game on Sunday, and then we're going to let it go, in moving ahead, you've got to be able to make changes, or like Donnie said, they're going to go 6-1 the rest of the way or whatever it is. No, they're not. They're going to win 500% of their games because right now, as we're talking, defensive coordinators are getting ready for Detroit. Okay. They've got it. He's doing the same thing every single time on 4th down. We are going to be ready for it. He's completely 1,000% predictable. We're ready for it. And it's going to doom the team. Ultimately, down the road, it will doom this team. And that's horrible because they've spent so many years getting to where they're getting. You have one drawback in this coaching staff, okay? Other than the fact that maybe John Morton is not a great play caller, and that happens. He's an excellent X's and O's man, okay? So now you got Campbell calling the plays on offense, and that's okay. That'll work and then not work probably overall. Okay. But you have a good football team there. And the better that you are, the more that the cream is going to rise to the top when it can and when it's available. What you're doing here is putting your teams in bad situations. When he makes the fourth downs, they're great. When he doesn't make them, it's catastrophic. That's what you have to read. That's the word. It's catastrophic. Okay, it's 4th and a yard and a half, but we're on our own 47. Okay, we don't make it. It's catastrophic. We make it. It's good. It's not great because you still got 53 more yards to go. Okay, but if we miss, it's catastrophic, especially in a 16-10 game or whatever it was, 16-9 game. Okay, catastrophic. And you're standing there on the sideline, and your goddamn defense is running back on the field saying, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" If I'm a defensive player, I'm sitting there saying, are you fucking kidding me? Now, do they say that? No, that's their coach. That's their leader. But you don't think they're thinking that inside? Every time that they miss a 4th down and the defense is going back on the field saying, what the fuck? Excuse my language. But that's the sentiment of what's going on here. And it's not just a little bit of an issue. It's a real serious issue if you're a Lions fan. And if you don't get what we're talking about today, you haven't been paying attention.
Now, listen, coming from Mark, who's been on the field, lived it, breathed it, and I mean, if you can speak on it. So I respect that, Mark, and I hear you. Donnie, let me bounce this off you because I think this will kind of parlay into what we're talking about. So some of the 4th down inefficiencies, I think, my opinion, can be related back to their offensive line because right now they are struggling up front for a multitude of reasons. Would you agree with that? And where would you bounce off?
I 100% agree with that. And another thing that I noticed during the losses, we don't run the ball very well. We are almost at a standstill. We had some good runs at times Sunday night when we actually attempted to run the ball, but not using Montgomery on short yardage runs and opening the field up. Look, Goff is dangerous when he has a running game.
Right.
Everybody wants to cry about the offensive line. I understand they struggle. I understand that. But also the running game, they have to block for the running game, not just this passing game. So if we can get the running game against all teams, not just the bad ones like New York Giants. No disrespect to the Giants, but I'm sure they're not the best defensive line. If we can open it up and run the ball like we're capable of, and we have 2 excellent backs to do the job, then Goff is dangerous. He's sitting back there with the ball after play action. Our play action is, in my opinion, some of the best play action in the NFL. We can pick apart a defense. But the way our defense is playing, if we get it right, and I feel we can get it right, it's not too late. It's the middle of the season. We're going to be dangerous going down the stretch. But the concerns, I agree with you, Mark. There's plenty of concerns, and we have got to stop going for it on fourth downs all the time in the middle of the field. Now, when we're around the 30, when we're around the 25, if you're 1 yard off, I get it. I get it. But yeah, the fake punt, I'm still pissed about that. That was a dumb ass play. I'm sorry. That was a dumb play, man. And the guy that took the ball, I know he's a big guy, stocky guy, strong. I want like a fast back there. I want somebody that's got some wheels, you know. And he got stuffed. It looked terrible. I don't know how much they've been practicing it, but they need to take that play, tear it up, and throw it away. Never do that one again, fellas, because that was bad. I'm still extremely proud and happy of how our defense is playing. I think, and that's missing DJ Reed. That's missing Kirby Joseph. And, you know, I mean, we got some big time players on the other end, on the back end, that's been hurt. And we played like that. Mm-hmm. Wow. I want Philly again in the playoffs. I want us to be playing at a high level. We don't need to be going in struggling like we are. But time will tell. We have a few games, man. We got 3 home games. I expect to win every home game left. I'm going to be going up to Detroit December 21st. My wife's a Steeler fan. They ain't winning. We're gonna go 4-0, fellas. We're gonna go 4-0 at home. It's the road games that kind of concern me because 2 of them are division foes, and then you got the Rams. By far, the Rams game is the hardest game left on the schedule. But what I'm excited about is we play Thursday night against Dallas. We don't play again until the following Sunday. Right. So these guys will have plenty of time to prep for the Rams. So let's just see how it goes. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I want to bounce something off you. I was a former wide receiver. I want to get your take on this. Jameson Williams has now scored touchdowns in 3 consecutive games for the Lions. Yeah. And we know the explosiveness, the speed. But what I would describe as a microcosm of maybe Jameson Williams' short career so far was that touchdown play he has in Philadelphia, where he makes an amazing play. You see everything about his talent, and then the penalty. Now, we can argue whether or not that action deserves a flag. That's not my question. My question, Mark, is in relation to Jameson Williams in this offense. We paid him a lot of money this offseason, and he's supposed to be your number 2/number 1 wide receiver, 1B, let's say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are we getting enough out of him? And are the extras and the off-the-field issues enough to say that's a problem?
No, it's a quandary. It's been a quandary ever since he's kind of gotten here. He's had some great moments, but as I've said before, and I predicted the exact amount of receptions that he would have last season. I predicted it. I had the exact amount. He is not a go-to guy. He is a home run hitter. He is a guy who could make a drastic, huge play in a game and change a game. He is not a 90 reception guy. He is a 45 reception a year guy, which is great. But he's not a go-to. He is not a 3rd and 6th guy. Okay, he's not really a 3rd and 8 guy. Okay, so that's what he is, and that's what we pay for. Does it make sense keeping or not keeping? I would actually say this in everything in life. It either goes one way or the other. I say this is one of the few occasions in life where you look at Jamo, and it's kind of, and I think the fans would probably say, yeah, I kind of agree with that. He's a 50-50. He's 50% great and 50% probably a little bit of a liability for what we have invested in him, right? It's all relative. Right. So I think he's a quandary since he's gotten here. He's had some terrific moments. He'll never be a go-to guy like a St. Brown or even the way a Laporta is. And he's not a 3rd and 6th receiver. He's a home run hitter. So to answer your question, Johnny, I would say that, you know what? It's a little bit of both. And you know me, I come on this show all the time. I like to give definitive answers. That is the one guy. That is the one player on this roster I cannot give a definitive answer as to being able to evaluate him properly. I can't. And you know what? I bet you if you asked 90% of the fans, they'd be in the same boat as me. They'd say, oh, yeah, this is great. This is great. And this is great. But this is not, and this is not what it's supposed to be based on what we've got invested. He is a complete quandary. But when I say a quandary, some people look at that as a total negative. It's not. It's just hard. Quandary means hard to figure out. as to what he is. So it's a little bit of a loaded question. It's a fair question, but to answer it one way or another, I think every single Lions fan, I'm going to be interested to hear what Donnie says about it, would pretty much say, I don't know. And that's the answer. I don't know. Yeah, some great stuff, but some not so good stuff. So that's where I'm at on it. And I'm sorry. It's the only time on this show I don't think I've ever not given a direct answer.
What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I lean towards what Mark says. Is J-Mo ever going to be a true number one? Probably not. He's not Megatron. He's got a great skill set. He's fast. He's got the wheels, but you're not going to feed him like you would a St. Brown.
Right.
So, I love the kid, and I believe what they're doing with him is awesome. But I also feel that we need to open it up a little bit more. We need to run the ball. I'm gonna pound that out. I'm just gonna keep repeating that. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
Spoken like a true West Virginian.
not having Laporta. Okay, it hurts. It's clear. We seen it Sunday night.
Yeah,
I love Brock, but man, Laporta. Yeah, that hurts, and I'm hopeful that he makes a return. It's not going to be a season ender, but I know back injuries, they can be bad. They can be real bad. So we're going to sit back and see how this works out. But yeah, I love JMO, and I love what they're doing with him. But yeah.
So that brings up a good point, Donnie. The Sam Laporta absence was very clear in Philadelphia. And Mark, let me go back to you with that, because if anybody knows the impact of certain positions on an offense, it's going to be you. I mean, when a quarterback has that security blanket, especially in a situation where he's getting interior pressure in his face, he's got to make a decision. He's got to get the ball out now. And then you lose your basically your number one target in the sense of that's your blanket. How big of a loss is that? And what can the Lions do to shift? Donnie mentioned Brock Wright, really not the answer. What can the Lions offense do to shift to make up for that loss, if anything?
It's the same thing going on right now in Buffalo with losing Kincaid. Everybody knows that on the show that I'm from the Buffalo area. I live in Clarence, New York. Buffalo's losing Kincaid. They play tomorrow night against the Texans. That is a huge loss. He is the security blanket for Josh Allen. So similar things going on in Buffalo as they are in Detroit with Sam Laporta. And, even earlier in the show, the way Donnie's going to kind of just shake your head at how good a safety blanket Sam Laporta is. So not having him is huge. Buffalo, I said before we came on the show, Buffalo should be favored to beat the Houston Texans tomorrow by a lot. Okay, not by a lot, but should be favored by probably at least 7 points, even though they're on the road. Without Dalton Kincaid, it changes the whole perspective. The security blanket is gone. And Buffalo has two good backups in Knox and that Hawks kid. But what's the answer on their offense? I would love to see Brock Wright do a little bit more. I mean, he's had some big plays over the years. I would, you can't just dismiss him. He's in the regular action. They go double tight an awful lot when Laporta is around. He just has to rise to the occasion receiver wise, And the thing is, this is where coaching comes into it. Dan Campbell is a former tight end. Okay, that shouldn't be a problem. He should be saying, listen, you are a primary blocker in our offense, Brock, but we need you to step up. We need you to make catches, and Brock Wright, listening to the head coach who played the position, who now coaches, as the head coach, he's got to step up. I don't want to give up and say, well, Brock Wright can't do it. No, I can't. I don't want to say that. I'm going to say he can do it, and I think he will. And I think, you light the right fire under his rear end, and I think he can do it. I think we're going as far as we can go with the wide receivers. We can do a little bit better, and we throw to our backs a lot. They need, a little bit Montgomery, like Donnie said, a little forgotten about lately, but we throw to our backs a lot too. And you're talking about security blankets. Who better on security blankets in the throwing game than Gibbs and Montgomery? Right. So you've got enough here. Does it suck losing Laporta as Donnie was talking about, as Johnny was talking about? Of course it does. But we have enough guys. We have enough talent in this offense via the running back, buying the backup tight end, who I kind of believe in, and our wide receivers core. It shouldn't make that much of a difference. Now in Buffalo, losing Kincaid, that's like disastrous. I think Buffalo losing Kincaid is worse than Laporta being lost in Detroit. And I would ask Donnie what he thinks of that comparison.
Yeah, probably from the perspective of Buffalo maybe not having as many weapons. I mean, they have a hell of a weapon back there, Mr. Cook.
Right.
What a back. He's awesome. But yeah, I agree. Kincaid is a big part of that defense. So offense, sorry. Yep. But Sam Laporta's blocking and his presence on the field when he's open, when he's out there. That's what Brock Wright, I believe, probably struggles with.
Yeah.
He don't get nearly we seen the other night, how many targets did he get? Maybe one? Maybe. Well, here's what I don't like though about a couple. The one possession that I didn't understand, I know that Jared was rushed. I get it. And I'm not picking on him, but he had Wright, I believe it was a tight end on the low end right there at the goal line when he threw to St. Brown and missed him pretty bad. Tight end was wide open. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my assessment of the guy is not good. Maybe he just needs his targets. But, yeah.
So Brock Wright had 7 targets, 2 catches for 8 yards. So the problem is the efficiency. But like you said, Donnie, maybe we're just missing him. And the bottom line is maybe Goff isn't tuned in to look for him. Jitter, let's try to throw it to you, man. I want to flip it to the other side because I think we haven't spent enough time with the defense. And one of the things that got overshadowed, I think, was the play of the defensive backfield, who we talked about. They're going to be recovering, a lot of injuries, a lot of guys coming back. But they've played undermanned now for a while. And Jitter, former defensive back, again, can bring the perspective. How do you see it from the Lions' perspective? They're still playing a lot of depth pieces. They're still kind of patch mealing this secondary. Can they keep this up, or are they going to be glad to get some of these pieces back? How will that affect the Lions' defense?
Is Jitter with us?
If we can.
Jitter, you with us? Jitter?
Frozen.
Okay. Let's get the question back to me. Just return it because I thought it was going to him, Johnny. Just
no worries, Mark.
Rephrase it for me one more time, please.
Yeah, we're just backing up to go to the defensive side. I was kind of giving praise to the defensive backfield. They have been decimated in the secondary with injuries. DJ Reed looks like he's going to be coming back. We're not sure on Kirby Joseph, but the way that they've played, the way the defense played, they didn't give up any big splash plays. I mean, just speak on that performance a little bit, Mark, and what it takes for depth guys to step into those roles.
Well, it does. And they always say, and I'm going to make this analogy, you're going for a World Series title. I make some crazy analogies, but my guys always get it. You guys get it. When your 6 through 9 batters bat well, you win championships. Okay. When your players that are considered average NFL players, which means they're great, I've been to that level. The average NFL player, you're great, okay? But the guys like Rodriguez, the true role players, especially on defense in the NFL nowadays, when they're just playing really good, that elevates you. That gives you a shot, okay? That gives you a shot to get to a championship. And I think this defense is capable of it. I'm a shepherd. I love Calvin. I love the job that he done as the defensive coordinator. I think he's excellent. I think he's made some great calls. I think they bring pressure when they're supposed to. It's done timely. It's done properly. It's not perfect because defense in the NFL is not perfect because it's an offensive-based game. That's what the future, the rules and everything has done for it. So it's a little sloppy. It's a little messy, but as long as it works, it's good. You went into Philadelphia and you held them under 20 points, okay? The barometer in the NFL now, if you talk to anybody on the inside walls of these locker rooms, okay, the number inside their heads, and Donnie will know this, the number inside their heads when they go into a game is hold the team under 20 points. Mm-hmm. If you hold the team under 20 points, your shot at winning the game is probably close to like 80%. Okay. It just didn't work out the other night. The other night was one of the 20% games because neither team reached 20 points. Okay. But my point being, and your question being, and where it's coming from is, hey, this team gave up 16 points on the road. Okay, that's pretty damn good against a world champion. Okay, didn't win. And right back to the beginning of the show, what we're talking about. Your defense did their job. Your role players, as we start to get them back, that's going to mean a lot. Okay, think of them as your 6 through 9 batters. All right. That's how you and they're a good group overall. And he brings pressure, like I said earlier, at the right times. Okay. And then you got Aiden Hutchinson, which I love. He's not going to lead the league in sacks, but he will lead the league in pressures, which is huge, as you guys know. So to answer your question, The defense is playing well. They're going to get some other guys back that they want to get back, including Rodriguez. And they're going to be able to, they're doing a good job, but they're not winning. And right back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, you went for it on 4th down and missed 5 times. That's why you lost the game. So everything relates back to what we talked about at the beginning. And I hate to be a broken record. And Jesus, people are saying, Schmidt, shut the hell up. But it's the answer for every question that's coming up in the show right now. And I would love to get Dan Campbell's opinion on what I'm talking about. Maybe he just calls me crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, look at my record. I kind of do know what I'm talking about. Okay. Absolutely. So, it's that. So to answer your question, Johnny, they're playing really well and well enough to win. They kept that team, the world champions, under that 20-point plateau on the road. Okay. And, the offensive line did not play well. And Montgomery was really not in the game. Goff did not play well, but they played well enough. And they put themselves in a position to take that game. They lost the game, not on effort. They tried hard. Okay. Yep. They're playing a great football team with a terrific defensive line. Okay. Who won a world championship, 10 months ago. So come on, look, relatively speaking, they did great. What happened here is their coach let them down over and over and over. Wait a minute, and I'm not done yet. And over again. Okay. And that's what it all leads back to. And I'm sorry to say this, and maybe people are tired of listening to me, either that or they'll be writing an article about me in the paper tomorrow about how great I am. I don't know. It'll be one or the other. It's always been that way with me anyway, right?
Let's stick with the coaching, Donnie. So how about this for a crazy thought? Because if that's the case, and I think we agree, Elvin Shepard's doing a fantastic job. And as the first-time defensive coordinator here, I think he's making a name for himself. Is there a situation, Donnie, where the Lions are again searching for both an offensive and defensive play caller next year as well?
Offensive, no. Defensive, absolutely. This guy's got a scheme and a plan every game. He puts his players in a position to excel. And if you're not excited about our defense, then what's wrong with you, man? We're getting all these players back. We're getting at least 3 or 4 players back. I know Davenport is an injury case. He plays five plays and gets hurt. But if he can come back, if we can patch him together and get him to come back and be, this even a backup on that one side across from Hutch, and we get DJ back and Kirby. Oh man, you get Kirby back. It's just amazing to know or to think about how good we could be. We gave up, and I know Mark said 16 points. In my opinion, we gave up 13 points because the tip ball, the fluke interception, put them right there in field goal range, even with the wind going crazy. So this defense, you got to be proud, man. But I agree, I believe that Shep is going to get an opportunity as a head coach, but I'm hoping it's another year or two.
Yeah.
But it may be this year. I got my fingers crossed he sticks around, but we shall see. To answer your question, I believe at some point he's gone.
Yeah. Well, let's buzz around the NFC North real quick here, guys, while we have some time. Obviously some things kind of changed over the weekend. I think the biggest surprise to me is now the Chicago Bears are sitting in sole possession of first place in the NFC North. First, let's start there, Mark. Reaction to the Bears. Are they for real, or is this just a mirage right now?
Johnny, I picked him, and I'm an idiot probably on this one. I picked him to be 9-8 this year. And there were a lot of people, and this is where sometimes the media gets it right. We talk about the media, oh, well, they're this or that, or, they screwed this up, or they messed that one up. I was not a real big believer in this football team, but the media said Chicago was going to be good this year. They said that they would probably win 11 or 12 games. And I thought that was ridiculous, especially the way that things had gone in the offseason with, Caleb Williams and, just some of his actions and his body language on the field and some of the things he said about, oh, we tell our punter we don't need him anymore. And, shit like that when you're coming into the league, it's just wrong. But those guys have put it together. I think they needed to get rid of Eberflus. Oh my God. He was just, I don't want to be too hard on the guy, but look who's coaching the team. Ben Johnson, I know he didn't leave Detroit on great terms, all right, but he's a good football coach. probably a better X's and O's man than he is a motivator of men. But he's a good football coach, and he's doing a really good job. And they are exceeding, where I thought they would be, to answer your question. I predicted them at 9-8. When I'm wrong on some of this, so I'll admit it. And that's what I said coming into the season. 9-8 would be a good year for them. I think they're going to surpass that. I don't know what their schedule looks like down the road here, but they got certain players. And I said this on the show last time. Certain guys that just excel out of the gate. They have that tight end named, Komet. He's been there for years, good player, probably one of the top 15 tight ends in the game, whatever. And then you get this guy named Loveland in there, a second round pick. And the guy's just gifted. He's athletic. He can run, he can block, he can do everything. The guy's fantastic. Komet's going to have a hard time hitting the field again. So there's certain players that are just rising the occasion. And then on defense, Jermaine Edmonds, who played in Buffalo for years with Matt Milano. Okay, it took him a couple of years to go to Chicago and get it down, but he's playing out of his mind on defense. Jermaine Evans, he's the young man who was drafted in the first round from Virginia Tech years ago by Buffalo. And it's taken him a while to kind of grow into the contract they gave him, but he's done it really well. So I think Chicago, to answer your question, Johnny, Chicago has exceeded where I said they would be, and they're a big surprise. And, and kudos, even though I don't like the way he left, kudos to Ben Johnson and kudos to Caleb Williams, the way they put it together when I was not a believer. That's it.
And Donnie, so here, before you take off with this, let's just these are the victories for the Bears: Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, Saints, Bengals, Giants, Vikings. So that's what I lean on. What's your thoughts on the Bears, Donnie?
So they got 7 wins. I think they have 2 quality wins there as far as like good records. Okay. Tough teams. Can you tell us the schedule that they have? Can you give me the gauntlet that they have remaining?
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Absolutely.
I'd like to know that too.
So Bears luck out. They're at home against the Steelers, so they got a good shot there. Then they go at Eagles, at Packers, home against the Browns, home against the Pack again, then at San Fran, and then we know where they finish up. They got the Lions in that last week.
That 9-8 schedule, you hit it on the head.
You think so?
9-8. I think so.
I get to look like a genius again?
You could.
Yeah. I think you're perfect. I think that they beat Cleveland because everybody and their mama can beat Cleveland right now. They're struggling bad. They have a rookie quarterback, even with a great defensive player. I got the Cleveland, and I think they split with Green Bay because that's, the little rivalry going on. I think they get them at home. I don't see them beating Pittsburgh this week. I may be wrong, but even with Pornstash there, I think that because I don't see Rodgers. I know Rodgers wants to play, but he has a broken wrist. He has a bone broken in his wrist. Who's going to chance that? Because, one good fall to the ground, you might be done for the year. So, I give them 9-8. That's the record that I stick on. Wow. When we get to that last game, and we have a chance to win the division, I can't wait.
So wait a minute. So what you guys are saying here, and my team of colleagues are saying, when I'm wrong, I'm still pretty right.
Right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. 9-8, man. I can see it. I see it. I feel it.
So we got the Bears there, and then now it follows up with the Pack, Green Bay at 6-3 in second place. I mean, listen,
6-2-1, right?
6-2-1, yes.
Yeah, 6-3-1. You're exactly correct. That's right. The tie against the Cowboys, and that's maybe the issue, right, Mark? And I'll kick it to you there.
Yeah.
Is again they've beaten good teams, but then they've lost to bad teams. So it's hard to again figure out good defense, so offense. What do you think?
Oh, I think the offense is so, but we have a nice conversation before we go on the air, and we talk about what we're supposed to talk about, and that's how you prepare for a show. Losing Tucker Kraft. Gosh, we talked about losing Kincaid. We talked about losing Laporta. Okay, we talked about some other tight ends in this show in the past. Tucker losing Kraft. Oh my God. It could be worse than losing Kincaid in Buffalo. It could be worse than losing, Laporta in Detroit. He was just such an instrumental part of that team, and he was gone with the knee injury. So that, again, I know injuries are part of the game, but we're looking for answers. We're not looking for excuses. We're looking for answers on this show, right? And I think that just hurt this team so much. He's just the way that whole offense runs, it runs around him, and he's a good blocker. He's a jack of all trades there, and that's really killed him. Defensively, they're a very good football team. They're a good football team pretty much every week. Defensively, and the acquisition of number one has been great. I think overall he's had a few testy moments. He's had some bad penalties and bad situations, but overall he's played very, very well as Micah Parsons. But the rest of that defense is very capable. They bring pressure at good times like Detroit does. They're good on the back end. Linebacker can be a little suspect here and there, but overall they've done a really good job. But it's the offense that's really struggling. And when you watch that team, and that's where the frustration comes in. Matt LaFleur, who's a wonderful coach. I mean, he is. I'm not a big Packer fan, but I respect LaFleur. But he's an offensive guy. And that's the part of the team that is not working for them right now is his offense. So it's got to be tremendously frustrating for him because I don't think he's ever gone through kind of a drought like this in the time that he's been there offensively anyway.
What's the offensive coordinators? Is it Patton? For Green Bay, is he still calling the plays, Mark? I really don't know. Or is LaFleur
LaFleur is involved with. I don't know if he calls all the plays, but LaFleur is heavily involved in it because that's obviously what he did in San Francisco and so forth. But this was interesting. I was at, and I think I told this story before while we're on Matt LaFleur, and this is a NFC North show. NFC North based show. It was all around the table. Devlin was there from the New England Patriots. It was an NFL alumni dinner. It was the players' dinner the night before the game, San Francisco, that Super Bowl. And we were all kind of sitting around, and there's players there, former players from 36 years old to 66 and older. We were all sitting around the table. We were all talking about how the game is today. And we were talking about, the coaches and the young coaches. And we went around that table and we all kind of talked about, who's one of the top coaches in the league who you really, doesn't get a ton of credit, but is probably the best coach in the league. And everybody around that table said, Matt LaFleur, that guy could coach pretty much anybody in the playoffs. Okay. He doesn't even need a roster. Okay, he'll get that. He may not get you a Super Bowl win, but he'll get you to the playoffs. And then, going around the table, a 36-year-old says that. Then, one of the older gentlemen say that. Then one of the other NFL players says it's like, oh yeah, LaFleur. It was like amazing. It was like everybody was like in agreement. Like, yeah, that guy can coach. And that table that had some pretty big names around it. And I never forgot that conversation because there's guys who know. And that was 2 years ago. And what has he done since then? Well, he had a great year last year when he wasn't supposed to. Okay, with a relatively new quarterback. Right. They're still winning this year. When they're winning ugly, but the offense lost their probably best player. Love is not their best player. Okay, until Kraft's their best player on offense. He's gone. It's like losing Micah Parsons on defense. That's kind of what in losing Kraft. That's how important Kraft is to that offense. So I think they're a good defensive. I think they're a playoff team. But the thing is, they might be the team that's ousted guys because Chicago is, raising their game. So now all of a sudden, Green Bay, who prior to the beginning of the season, you'd say, well, they're going to make it as a wild card. Now, because Chicago is playing so well, all of a sudden, Green Bay is sitting there saying, man, we just want to get in the playoffs. That's it. We're not even looking at that. Let's just get into the tournament, and that's it. I think they would take that right now if they could.
Yep. Then you got the Lions, of course, in third at 6-4. Vikings trailing 4-6. They just lost to the Bears this last weekend. And Donnie, let me ask you. Talked about the Bears. Mark just hit on the Packers real good. We know the Lions, and I think JJ and the Vikings are kind of slipping back now. When all said and done, who comes out of this division? Number one is the NFC North champion, and do they get a second wild card? If so, who's that wild card?
I'm not going away from the Detroit Lions because I believe we're going to get hot again. We're going to get on a streak. We're going to knock some W's down, and I can see us losing no more than 1 to 2 games. I can't say that about Chicago, and I definitely can't say that about Green Bay. I think Green Bay splits with Chicago. I think they lose to us at home on Thanksgiving. And this week, they play Minnesota at home. Who knows? That's a coin flip. And I tell you why. I watched the game the other day when Green Bay went to New York. Love got hurt. Missed a nice little, I think maybe a quarter. So he's still injury prone. Okay. Their running back got knocked out of the game. I agree that Kraft's a big part of that offense. But Jacobs, is that his name? Jacobs?
That's Jacobs. Yep.
He's tough. Yeah. Tough. and he's out. He may not play this week. So, man, I mean, they may trip up and lose a game that they're not supposed to, just like we lost to the Vikings when we weren't supposed to off a bye week. So I can see 3 to 4 more losses for Green Bay. And we have how many games left? 7. They may not even. I see them out. I'm gonna throw them out. I got the Lions win the North, and I'll say the Chicago Bears. They may get the wild card. Minnesota has, in my opinion, a very slim chance. They'll have to get on a monster streak. They're already behind the 8 ball. But yeah, I got you. I got the Detroit Lions winning the NFC North. Everybody's in panic mode. That's outside of our fan base. Well, some of our fans are probably panicking right now.
They are.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because you know why? Because we control our own destiny, guys. We
Pretty
do.
much.
You do.
Pretty much.
We do. We got a game with Chicago left. The last game of the year. We have a game with Green Bay on Thanksgiving.
That's the
We
one.
got to go to Minnesota, right? On Christmas. That's 3, that 7 games. Yeah, we should, in my opinion, we should win 5 to 6 games. And I wouldn't say the Rams are a guaranteed loss. Like I said, they have a gap
No.
between the Dallas game
No.
and the Rams game. We're ready. We can be prepared. We can get
Guys,
maybe Kirby back.
Yeah, maybe. What is speaking of getting Curry back, what is the prognosis on the return of Laporta? What are they saying on time-wise?
Was it the hour? He's on the hour. It's guaranteed, what, 4
It's
games?
4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
I think the issue, Mark, is that it's a vertebrae issue, and this is my opinion, and because you're exactly right, Don. It's at least the next 3 weeks, and then I think it's a week-to-week thing from there. But I think they shut him down. I just don't think you mess with the back. Like that goes, everything else goes. I mean, Mark, you know better. You played in the league. I mean, you've seen it. I just, as a tight end in that type of impact atmosphere, what do you think? Do you mess with the back? Do you force him back if they're really in a run here?
That kind of comes down to the player. You guys know, and I've gone through some back injuries in my life, especially lower back injuries. Upper back is different. It's mostly on softer tissue. It can be muscular related, but lower back is an issue where it's kind of how much you can take, especially if you are spasming. So it's kind of it does. Backs are very arbitrary because they'll tell you, well, listen, there's nothing broken back there. There's a vertebrae problem, but there's nothing broken. So it's a lot of times what you can take. Does it mean they're going to force him back sooner than expected? No, but it's about how much he can take as far as pain is concerned with that. And, we all think, players should go out there making millions of dollars. You should go out there and play no matter what. Well, when you're in just so much pain in your back, you can't play. Well, then you're not of use to your team. I don't like that slogan of, well, you should play no matter what. Well, no, not really. Not if you're no use to your team because you're hurting that badly. To answer your question, Johnny, I don't think they rush him back. I think it's what he can take. 4 weeks on the IR means that you're hurt. It means you're legitimately hurt. And then you got to get back into game shape as well. So, it's something that, like you said, 3 more weeks because he's already been gone 1. So then you see from there and, who knows, that could hamper you the rest of the season. So I think as a coaching staff, you got to rely on what you got. And I don't think you're going to expect him back anytime soon. That's the way you got to look at it. Like we'd love to have Sam, but we got to, the ship still sails and we're going to sail without him. And a back injury, you don't need my expertise. Dan Campbell knows, the training staff knows. You can't mess with it. And maybe he can't deal with the pain just because it's too much. So I think you just got to see. It's got to be the old, and it's safe to use a cliche, next man up, and don't rely on Sam Laporta coming back anytime soon.
Donnie, do you think there's anybody bigger than Sam Laporta that will potentially come back? Like the Lions need to get somebody else in this roster that would be more important than Sam Laporta returning for a playoff run?
Oh, yeah. Kirby Joseph.
Fair.
Kirby Joseph is a game changer. I mean, he breaks up a lot of the passes. He intercepts. I think he has we have a record when he intercepts a pass. I believe if we're not undefeated, we're like 9-1 or
9-1.
The last
9-1. One loss. Yeah.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
is. It's an awesome stat.
It is. It is. It's really awesome. So yeah, he'll be a huge piece to bring back. But I hope when they bring him back, like we were talking, I hope he's 100%.
Yeah.
100% him and 100%, even 95% Branch. That's a duo, man, right there. I'm excited about this defense, Mills.
Yeah, I am a Brian Branch fan. I've become one. I was not one at first. I thought he was okay, but now over the time that he's been in there, I think he's terrific, and I think they miss a lot when he's not in there. And Joseph the same way. They've gotten very, very good on the back end. Hey, you guys remember what we were talking about 2 years ago? Okay, about the back end and how suspect it all was. It's come a long way since then. I mean, you're giving up 16 points against the world champions in their park. Okay. And like Donnie said, only actually 13. So, the defense is good. I think the offense knows it. And I think that needs to motivate the offense a little bit. So,
So before we wrap it up here, Mark, I heard you had a little bit of a story. You ran into NFL legend Doug Flutie there. Was it in Buffalo? He was in for a signing. Tell us a little bit about that run in, and just tell us like what it is to interact with such a legend.
Well, anywhere you go with Doug, he's kind of an American icon. And, I never put anything. I've been friends with Doug for a while. And I'm kind of his go-to guy here in Buffalo when he comes here, which is pretty often because he played here. So he has different events going on for autism, which his son Dougie suffers from, and he does benefits here in Buffalo for the Autistic Foundation. And just a great guy. And he was here this past weekend with the Buffalo Bills to do a signing with 3 like rookies and second-year guys. The team was, I guess, mixing the old with the newer players, and they had a signing in South Buffalo around the stadium. And he came in. Obviously, he calls me to go out and eat and have breakfast and whatever, and drive him around. But this is interesting because we're going into a restaurant it's a diner in Orchard Park, right around the corner from the stadium. And we're going in there, and it's Saturday morning. It's 10:30. Place is packed. There's got to be 150 people in the restaurant that we're going into. And Doug is very humble about his popularity, but he makes jokes about it too. So we're walking in, we're ready to walk into the restaurant, and he's kind of looking at me. I'm looking at him. And he's like, "You ready for this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." You walk in there, and word travels that it's him. Okay, and it's like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. It's like, holy smokes. It's kind of like hanging out with Mick Jagger. So, but he's a great guy. He carries himself so well in public, and the public that they feed off of that. The Nugenics commercials have done an awful lot to keep his name out there. But Doug's an American icon, and what he has accomplished in his life with not much as far as his physical stature has been actually unbelievable. He's part of the College Football Hall of Fame. He was named CFL, I think CFL player of in history, the number 1 player in history in the CFL. I think he was named that like last year by the Canadian Sports Writers Association. And had a really great career, of course, the Heisman Trophy, and all the other things that he's accomplished. And everywhere he's gone, including Buffalo, where he made All-Pro. So, he's a great guy. He's an American icon. He handles it well. He's so humble. And the fans, wherever you go, if you go into a 7-Eleven, people are like, "Is that Doug Flutie? Is that Doug Flutie?" They want to get a picture. They want to get him to, something. They want an autograph. They want something to, to touch him a little bit, and it's pretty amazing. And it's been fun being friends with him because, it's kind of fun to be around, and it's always positive when Doug Flutie's around.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, that'll wrap it up for today's show, Detroit Lions News Show. Donnie, before we get out of here, man, just tell people a little bit about you. Where can they find you? Listen, man, I would like to spend a little bit more time with this so we can figure out each other a little bit more, but that's kind of part of why I throw it to you. What's going on in your world?
Oh, I'm just a big fan, man. I live here in Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm from West Virginia. Been a diehard fan of the Detroit Lions forever. My boy Barry Sanders turned me into a big Detroit Lions fan because here in West Virginia, we don't have a team. Yeah, Pittsburgh up the road here, but I stuck with the Lions through all the terrible, terrible seasons, and now I get to enjoy it. I don't have a platform. I don't have a podcast. I join my buddy Darcy there at times on these shows, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know how anybody can follow me, man. I'm on social media, but maybe someday I'll have a better, platform.
No worries, man. Definitely. No worries. Spread love. Yeah. That's positivity is just good. I appreciate that.
Right. Yes, sir.
So we had tough technical difficulties today with Joe Chap's page, we're not going live to the Detroit Lions News podcast. So the viewership is down, but I don't usually like to talk to myself usually. So, it's
Well,
great for everybody.
when will it air? When is this going to air?
Well, it's on YouTube right now. We got one. Oh, sorry. We got one YouTube watcher right now. So thank you for watching us on YouTube. These guys have done great. I'm excited. I'm going to be down there for the Giants game. Hopefully, we're going to mollywop them. But I am a coach of 11 years, and I have 3 kids in the NFL. So I watched the All-22 film, and this Giants team is going to run one high safety, and they are going to load the box up with 8 guys in the box. But for that one YouTube viewer, thank you for watching, and go Lions. But it's going to be really tough. I'm excited. We got how many games? 3 games in 11 days. So this is going to be
3 home games.
Yeah, they're all home games.
And then Green Bay plays 3 division opponents. So we're going to see, it's going to, you see all these Chicago fans are all like, ooh, grabbing their nipples and say, oh, we're in first place. And, it's just horrible, right? And you see all the comments, and they're all coming out of the woodwork. And I get it. Like, I'm a Lions fan. We used to be like that, right? Mm-hmm. But I just see everybody's gotten paid, and I just don't see the grit factor anymore, guys. Do you guys see the grit factor anymore? Like, Mark, you would know, lots of guys that got paid and they got other distractions and they had kids, and it's just, when you're not trying to prove yourself to make that first contract, it's just like, I heard St. Brown's not doing the jug machine. That's what Donnie said to me.
Right. Well, I don't know. Yeah, certain guys get paid and certain guys get a little apathetic. I think the word is sometimes they're still into it. But it's sometimes it hurts a little bit of a motivation. I've been around players who signed big contracts and ended up doing, continuing to do well, or if not better. I've been around players who signed big contracts whose career just kind of faded and went down. So I've kind of seen both sides of it. That really depends on the individual and the way you're wired. It doesn't mean you're any less of a human being. It's just the way that you perceive things. It's like, I have my payday. I don't have to work anymore. I've got this. And, you get a little comfort zone. They always say, you always have to maintain, to be in the NFL or, the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL, you got to maintain that edge. Regardless of money or whatever you're doing, you have to maintain that. As soon as you lose that edge, there's such a fine line between success and failure that, you start to go into the F category, the failure category. And I know that's maybe being a little harsh, but, everybody perceives things like that different. There's a lot of players, and I've seen that, I won't mention any names, who sign major contracts and they are completely motivated to hold that up. Okay. Completely motivated. One of them is Jared Goff. But paid a ton of money, and you can just see it in the guy's eyes that he wants to live up to it. Okay, there's a guy that's doing just the opposite. Jared Goff would be one of those guys. Well, you got paid. You really don't have to work that hard. He's done just the opposite. So it kind of depends on the individual, guys. Just the way that you kind of perceive things and the way you perceive money. You have to. Everybody looks at money differently. Johnny would look at money differently the way Donnie would, than the way I would, than the way Darcy would. We just perceive money differently. It changes all of our lives in a different way, and for some more and for some less. But you want to look at a guy that it didn't mean a goddamn thing to. Is the money is Jared Goff. Got paid a ton of money, just wants so badly for that championship. Same with Josh Allen. The only thing missing in his resume now after winning the MVP last year is that Super Bowl title. So they become just so much more motivated. To achieve that last thing that completes your legacy, and that's what it's about. Once you have all that success, it's about your legacy, right? I know that's a cliche, but that's really true.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so scary about the Lions? I've been waiting, trying to get in, but they're really young. I mean, Jared Goff is not really that old. So is Jahmyr Gibbs, and Aiden Richardson, Hutchinson, those guys are really young. So they got a while to be great. And this is like the last part of the season. What is there, like 8 games left?
7.
So
Seven,
whoever stays healthy, whoever's the most healthiest. So I think the Lions are going to be a little healthier coming close to the playoffs. And you get in the playoffs, then you never know who's going to get hot. The Lions get in the playoffs is going to be really good because I'm looking at like you go 15-1 and you get kicked out of the playoffs the first game. I think they might have learned their lesson. But like I said, that's with growth, and they're like really young. They're still young. That's amazing. That kind of talent, and they're producing like they are. I just hope they stay healthy, remain healthy. Listen to all that. I just really hope they get healthy, be healthy in these last 8 games, and get into the playoffs. And once we get into the play, because I think, like I said, I think our fans everybody's gonna learn their lesson by getting to the playoffs and then losing. Well, that stinks. I mean, the same way with was really the same way with all the teams in the National Football League, because really you look at some of the other divisions, especially in the NFC, it's like really crazy. Well, I mean, like the AFC is really crazy because you still got teams like 5-4, at the top of their division and stuff like that. So it's far from over. But we'll see some good football, but it's scary. They're just too young. They learned like they supposed to. And I want to say this too, like the fourth down, with coach going on fourth down.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I mean, as long as he's not giving up major field position in his defense, they should be healthy the way I'm looking at it at the end of the year. But hopefully it'll come sooner than that. But no, it makes sense sometimes what he does. He's not giving up, any field position. He's putting teams in the worst position as possible in order to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair. You can punt the ball like that and go 15 yards, 20. So you're not going like consistently, and it works. But hey, I mean, as long as you don't go for fourth down and you in like their territory, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like you in our territory, you in your own territory, and you go for it. I mean, that would be. I don't think he's ever done that. Has he? I don't think coach has ever.
Yeah, I mean,
he did go for it.
Before I really,
He did go for it.
It's going to boil down to who's healthy.
Yeah. No, he's gone through it in some situations that have not been that were real questionable. So
But
he has given up a lot.
And speak to Johnny, Donnie, and Mark, Dorothy. I hope he is.
Back in the day, when we had a coach like that, or the big guy that worked out like Mark Schmidt and big muscular, we used to call that guy a meathead. And Dan Campbell coached that team like a meathead. So finish it off here, Johnny. We have no viewers.
I agree with Alfred. I think one of the big things here is the health, right? Because I think the Lions have the talent to go where they want to go, but the coaching decisions and some of the in-game things that are happening are what are holding this team back. I think this is just my opinion. The offensive line health is a big problem. The interior, they have to shore up. That caused Jared Goff to be an inefficient quarterback, and it threw the entire operation off its stride. That's my opinion. And I just think that that's a fixable issue. You got 2 young guards. You have a veteran center. You have other pieces. They can shift things. They can move things around. They can use their tight ends. They have big wide receivers. They have small wide receivers. Isaac Tesla's in the mix. My point is there are ways the Lions can make this happen with the talent they have. I think it's minor adjustments on a few things, and we're talking about this differently next week. Yes, it's a Giants team that's down, but they also have a great defensive front. They really do. They have talent on those defensive ends that the Lions are going to have to deal with. This will be a test. It's not a gimme, but it's a great recovery game. It's a great get-right game and an opportunity for this offensive line to show they're not as bad as they were in Philadelphia. Mark, what do you think?
No, I agree with you. I think it is a good test game. I think it's a game that's obviously very winnable. The Giants team is a very young team. They're very inconsistent. They lost Scadaboo early on with the ankle injury. That he was doing a lot better than what they thought he was going to do. And they've gone through obviously a coaching change with Dayball being dismissed and now with an interim coach. That's never a good situation. Still, as you know, I'm a big Ole Miss advocate. Family members go to Ole Miss presently, and I love Jackson Dart. I love what he stands for. Wilson has basically lost his game. He's not even the number 2 anymore. But this is a game. This is a pivotal game, and it's a game that's just very, very winnable just on talent alone. And I think they get back on track. Johnny, I agree with you on that. I think this is a game that's just very, very winnable. And getting them off that schneid from last week when they lost to Philadelphia, the Giants is the perfect team to play. I think it's still a challenge. They're not the New Orleans Saints. They're not they're a halfway decent team, and on a given Sunday, just ask the Denver Broncos, they'll push you right to the limit. So it's not a gimme. It's a great challenge, but it's very, very winnable, and it gets them back on track.
Donnie, what do you got for a final score? Lions, Giants.
Yeah, we need this win to go into Thanksgiving with momentum. We don't need to get upset this week and then keep hearing the chatter about this or that or what's wrong with their O-line or what's wrong with Goff. We need to get a big win. It needs to be impressive, in my opinion. Hopefully, it's not a last-second field goal. So we're going to keep hearing the chatter. We need to go take care of business, get some momentum, go into the Green Bay game, and take care of business. And and that gets us on a roll. And then you got a hungry Dallas Cowboy team that's bouncing back a little bit with a couple new players that they received at the trade deadline. So that game's not going to be easy either because of their quarterback and their offense with their receivers. But we got 3 home games, and I expect 3 wins. I expect going into LA with some momentum and a nice break with a chance.
I like it. A lot of positivity ahead. Guys, I'll sign off for us. Johnny Gaz, Mark, I appreciate you. Donnie, Jitter, thank you guys so much. Darcy, I appreciate you bringing us all together. We will be back on a future show. Signing off for Detroit Lions News Show, your number 1 source for Lions news. We will see you very soon.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I mean, I think doing the Detroit Lions show, the fans out there are passionate.